Welcome to the Regen Biome Podcast. Hi, I'm your host, Gene Felix Turcotte, a certified integrative health practitioner, level 1 and 2, certified in blood chemistry and functional lab testing. I love helping people with GI issues, weight loss, mold exposure, heavy metals, mysterious problems, and health optimization. I love helping people get to the root cause of their health struggles and simplify healing. Ready to transform your health? Go to regenbiome.com and click book a call. All the support is greatly appreciated. If you enjoy, please write a 5-star review on iTunes or the platform of your choice. Enjoy the podcast and please share this with anyone that this would help. Welcome to episode 16 of the Regen Biome Podcast. So in today's episode, we will be diving into a critical aspect of our bodies that often goes unnoticed but affects millions of people daily, a true epidemic that remains largely unspoken. So this is a real issue that we're facing every single day. So our focus will be on low stomach acid, or in other terms, hypochlorhydria, so in scientific terms. So throughout this episode, we'll be exploring the common signs and red flags of low stomach acid, the long-term health implications associated with it, effective methods of testing its presence, and practical strategies to prevent and address this condition. So again, before we begin, it's important to note that the information shared in this podcast is for educational purposes only and should not be construed as medical advice. Always consult with your medical doctor before making any changes to your diet or supplement regimen. Get ready to dive in and unravel the mystery surrounding low stomach acid. Well, hello guys. So welcome to episode 16. I'm so excited about this episode. So I'm actually tuning in and recording this beautiful episode from the beautiful Mesa in Arizona in the United States of America. So I'm super excited to tune back in. So this episode is going to be super interesting. This is actually a topic that I see commonly impacting a lot of my clients myself, and it has impacted my own health myself too, due to hypochlorhydria, low stomach acid, such a common thing that is actually impacting 20% of American adult population thus far in the United States. So with one of the condition called GERD, so esophageal reflux disease, or acid reflux, really common. So there's multiple causes when it comes down to low stomach acids, and we have to remember one thing when it comes down to low stomach acid. So there's so many plethora of detox protocols out there, or parasite cleansing, and just know that the first thing is, if your hydrochloric acid is not in check, it's going to be a real issue, So we often jumped into these protocols and things, but we have to also consider multiple things that besides these infections, and we have to ask ourselves what was the cause of these pathogens proliferation. So why are they present right now in overgrowth, right? So oftentimes we see these pathogens as being always bad, but know that multiple bacterial, viral, fungal parasites lives within us, and we have a symbiotic relationship with them. So we have to understand that. But this is where we often forget that how stomach acid plays a key role in managing or either it's contributing the proliferation of these pathogens. So first and foremost, we have to understand that the stomach acid is so important. So the stomach requires a really highly acidic environment, so a pH that ranges approximately between 1.5 to 3.5 pH. So there's a lot of talk about alkalinity and alkaline waters. There's a big difference, but it's not going to be a topic on water. But how we must keep the acidity level of the stomach really, really low between these ranges. Otherwise, we are going to have some issues when it comes down to digestions of protein, especially HCl plays a key role in activating multiple other enzymes or killing harmful microorganisms and bacteria, fungal and bacterial and parasitic parasites, right? So because HCl actually protects from these pathogens from entering the digestive system in the first place. This is our first, so your mouth is so crucial. So the mouth microbiome is also very, very important. And this is how we really absorb nutrients. So with low stomach acids, which I'll talk about, many signs and symptoms and things that can happen. But first and for all, let's just talk about, some of my past experience myself, what I've, seen with a low stomach acid. So a lot of indigested. So back in the years, so between 2016 to 2021, I would say. So when I had my longest and not atrocious, that would be a poor word to use, but my really more difficult and my chronic digestive issues that I had back then, that's really when I was having a lot of undigested foods, gas, bloating, belching, like very stinky farts and unregulated bowels, and my motility was not on point, and I was having, a lot of chronic issues when it comes down to energy levels and multiple gut dysbiosis. So I had bacterial overgrowth that I was able to identify from doing an organic acid test and running some blood chemistry. That, the funny part with that is I go back to some of my labs and I'm like, oh my gosh, I was dealing with this. So this is where, Clostridium difficile, which is really common, so C. diff. So especially for most people that have actually used some antibiotics in the past. So this is so commonly. So just recently, just had a client as well, with high, low stomach acids based on her labs, as well as especially as a stool analysis. So we're seeing a lot of different types of pathogens that are proliferating, that are overgrowing. So, and which is one of the leading issues that she's experiencing is due to low stomach acid. So for one of the first things that can happen in causes of low stomach acid is aging. So as we age, we also have a reduction in hydrochloric acid. So we have to consider that. Stress is a huge one. Cortisol. So cortisol actually shuts the production of hydrochloric acid. So when we're stressed, we also do release other types of hormones, or either like when we consume from like our high refined carbohydrates diet is a real issues too, especially as simple sugars. So this also triggers insulin release, which can inhibit the hormone gastrin. This is why also stress cortisol inhibits that beautiful and so important gastrin hormone, which release which needs to be released and affects the parietal cells inside the stomach lining. So this is why, when we consume food, when food enters our stomach, or when we start putting food in our mouth, we have this release of this hormone, gastrin, being released. And it goes inside the stomach and it binds onto the parietal cells in the stomach lining. This is where gut function and gut health is so important. So with how proper gut functions, if you don't address the gut integrity right off the get-go, you will be struggling. So I don't care what protocols you're taking on, and a lot of people go after attacking, getting rid of pathogens while not taking care of the foundational biochemistry of the body, which is so essential, which we need that. So this is something, so we must address that. One of the other key things that is so common that I see all the time on blood chemistry is low zinc levels, which will trigger poor synthesis of HCl production. Same with B1 thiamine. So if you are consuming a ton of alcohol, we'll know one thing. In order for you to break down alcohol, you need a lot of these minerals, but like zinc, but also B1. It is essential to clear ethanol or acetaldehyde out of the body, which is what commonly affects the body, or this is what is being released from taking and consuming alcohol. So this is why people that have high levels of candida and yeast overgrowth, which you will need a lot of B1, because candida and yeast and fungal actually produces a lot of acetaldehydes, which needs to be broken down. So from some key enzymes which we can know genetically ALDH and ADH. So you can always refer back to some of my posts in recently on low stomach acids and hypochlorhydria. So those are one of the main issues. Also drugs, so like NSAIDs, aspirin, so they can actually inhibit production. So like ibuprofen, all these things, so it can really inhibit the productions of substance called another hormones, prostaglandins, which actually helps to protect the stomach lining and regulates HCl production, so secretion. So that's a huge issue. So if we are damaging the specific hormones, then we end up with low HCl. Not so good. Antacids, so important as well. So antacids, they do work. They work really, really well. So a lot of people, when you have low stomach acids, you can have the counter effect of, or symptoms, I would say. So a lot of people think that they have high stomach acid, so because they have reflux, and so they go on to these proton pump inhibitors, which is a huge issue because it actually increases the pH levels, right? So, which, you will feel a lot better right away, but then, and these drugs are not meant to be used long term. So, and what can actually happen, it can potentially lead to a rebound hyperacidity once the antacid wears off. So this is an issue with a lot of people. And so we have this the sphincter. So basically there's a little valve that helps to control the amounts of stomach acid that enters the stomach, so to digest and break down our food. So when your body is so smart, so the body is actually looking to have adequate amounts and levels of hydrochloric acid. So that little door does not shut off until there's proper amounts of hydrochloric acid in the stomach to break down your food. So until this doesn't happen, your body will still keep the door open. And so this is where and when the stomach, so the HCl or stomach acid in the stomach can actually go back up, and this is when we get some reflux symptoms. So, and this is more often than not right now. So in some cases, yes, you can have too much hydrochloric acid, but those are much more rare. So on normal basis, the symptoms of stomach acid is actually caused by low stomach acid. So another thing that can really impact hydrochloric acid production is low estrogen. So especially in menopausal women, this is another issue. So estrogen actually helps stimulate the hormone gastrin secretion. So without that, we can't release, it cannot bind onto the parietal cells in the stomach lining. And then you have a inhibition of the hydrochloric acid production. So, and also low estrogen can also alter stomach motility. So estrogen, it helps regulate the movement and contraction of the stomach muscles. Really important. So known as stomach motility, right? So optimal stomach motility is crucial for proper mixing and digestion of foods. So the thing is, when estrogen levels are low, it can lead to changes in the stomach motility, potentially affecting the secretion of HCl, overall digestion. So really important. We have to understand that. So and it's just a key role. And it also plays a key impact on the LES, so the lower esophageal sphincter, which I was talking about. So which the LES of sphincter basically is like a ring of the muscle that separates the esophagus from the stomach, right? So it helps prevent stomach acid from flowing back into the esophagus, protecting against acid reflux, right? So it's when that little door stays open, it goes all the way back up in the esophagus, and this is when you get the reflux symptoms, right? So it's really important because estrogen helps maintain the tone and function of the LES, so super important. So when it's too low, it can contribute to a weakened LES, potentially allowing acid reflux and reducing the effectiveness of the HCl in the stomach, right? So other key things, there's marijuana use. Also, there's some studies that shown impacting most people, because when you actually have the munchies, that actually helps stimulate HCl, but in prolonged use of it. So there's more studies that needs to be done, but in some of them it shows that prolonged use of marijuana is I don't consume it, so here are my words, but no judgment here. But yeah, so for prolonged use of weed, so it can actually impact So chronic, and it can, in some cases, it can diminish your appetite. So not everyone. So low appetite. So when you don't eat, you don't have as much HCl production. So, but also overeating can cause, a low stomach acid. So this is another issue. Autoimmunity. So autoimmune issues attacking parietal cells can also be another issue when it comes down to low stomach acid causes. So some symptoms that are really important to actually spot and have a little bit of a red flag when it comes down to low stomach acid. So number one, would be some gas, belching, bloating. So normally you would feel a little worse 1 hour after eating. So this is when you're going to get the bloat after eating your meal. Oftentimes heartburns is another issue, nail problems. So it could be soft, brittle, weak, peeling, cracked. So those are some really common symptoms. Or also a lot of white spots on your nails. So that could be a contributing factor of low zinc. So if you have these white spots on your nails, so check that in. So, in Ayurvedic medicine is very important. So looking at your nails is also a very, very common thing. So low zinc, really important. So hair loss, all right, especially in women. So a lot of women have a lot of hair loss issues. So if you don't have proper amounts of HCl, you cannot have enough nutrients also for your thyroid functions, right? So you need proper zinc, copper, so an iron, you need other key nutrients like your iodine. So we have to understand and selenium and amino acids, right? So we need tyrosine for the proper thyroid function. So we have, we require proper stomach acid. So other things, constipation or diarrhea. So if you have loose stool or you're constipated, that could be due to low stomach acid. Acne, rosacea, so iron deficiency, anemia. So common. So if you have low stomach acid, you will not be able to break down and absorb your iron. So, which a lot of people that are in my case, it's the opposite, right? I have an issue with iron overload, so very, very different. So I just got to still have to make sure that I have proper HCl. So if you are listening to this episode and you do have a mucormycosis, iron overload, genetically, know that low stomach acid is a real issue for us as well too, because the problem is you can also have low stomach acid can drive definitely to parasitic or pathogens overgrow, which can lead to a proliferation because pathogens feeds off iron as well. It's like a buffet. We are like a buffet for them. So it's so important. So some diseases associated with hypochlorhydria, things like diabetes, right? So diabetes is real issues in America. I think top like 7 or 8 leading cause of death in America. So important. So poor absorption of your nutrients is key, right? So you will a lot of issues when it comes down to digestive problems, like even Crohn's, IBD, and all these IBS. If you have low B12 absorption due to low stomach acid, it's a real problem. So I've seen also childhood asthma, thyroid dysfunction, skin conditions like again eczema, vitiligo, rosacea, psoriasis, osteoporosis, autoimmune arthritis, lupus, chronic atrophic gastritis, so gastric inflammation. So that's prolonged issues of high stomach acids, which the leading cause. So again, it all starts with low stomach acid. So in most cases, so it's really important. And key things to understand too. We have to make sure that we identify some of these key things. So if you experience any of these symptoms, the likelihood that you have low HCl is so common. And some of the key things and what can we do to actually test for low stomach acid. So we have to make sure that number one, we run some functional blood chemistry. That's number one. So there's key things: running a CBC with a CMP system, normally from a CMP, a complete metabolic panel. So on a normal basis, you should always ask your doctor to be running this. Very, very important. So it's some key markers, that we identify in the CMP, such as, and CBC as well. So, but in the CMP, we definitely look at your CO2, your anion gap, your alkaline phosphatase. We definitely look at calcium, globulin, and your albumin. All these things are very, very important to check when it comes down to to low stomach acid. So especially in the CBC as well. So if we see some elevation when it comes down to your MCV, so important. So we can always see this. So anything above 90, you can see a potential need for vitamin B12 and B9, which B12 is very common also in digestive issues. So that's going to be a good sign of, low stomach acid. But also we look at your BUN, your BUN, blood urea, nitrogen, your phosphorus, and albumin. So you need to have proper amounts of magnesium, also of chlorine as well, chloride into the diet. So this is why having enough salt as well too is a good form to get enough chloride to make HCl. So if you don't hydrate yourself, very, very important that you do on a day-to-day basis. And so one of the key things too that I love to test and make sure that we have, this is key functions, right? So when we get your levels tested, so through blood work, one key thing that I love to test with clients is to make sure that they have enough in this castrin hormone in the blood, right? So you need proper levels above 45 to 90. Normally it's the optimal ranges. So we want to make sure that your gastrin levels, so serum gastrin is something that I love to test myself and clients. And it's just been crazy how many people actually have low gastrin levels. So common. So I will see this. The thing is, you have to understand too, that low stomach acid can lead to a lot of immune dysfunction too, because if you don't have enough protein, you cannot make a lot of these protein that helps us fight multiple issues, like especially your immunoglobulins. We need protein to activate multiple enzymes and other functions in the body. But yeah, so low stomach acid definitely an issue, right? So if you don't have enough protein, you cannot heal the intestinal tract. So it's a vicious cycle. But one key thing too is really important. So we also have to address a full iron panel. So if you don't test a full iron panel, so not just testing your ferritin, you need to have your serum iron, but mostly the TIBC is what I look for. If you have chronic anemia, that could be led through low stomach acids oftentimes. Well, there's another STFR marker that we can test as well too through LabCorp and see if either it's chronic anemia from natural deficiencies, or it could be from infections and something like that, or overgrowth of pathogens or whatnot. So, but one key thing as well too that impacts a lot of people that we often hear is getting tested for H.Pylori, which is another issue that impacts so many people that goes unseen. And so low levels of HCl can allow H.Pylori to basically bury itself into the thick layers of the mucosa of the stomach. So it lives under the lining of the mucus in the stomach. So, and then the problem is with H. pylori is once H. pylori is basically safe in the mucus, it is able to fight stomach acid that normally does reach, it does reach it with an enzyme that it possesses called urease. So this is so smart. So basically H. pylori, so you have low HCl, H. pylori comes in, it starts proliferating, right? It's part of us. It's in symbiotic. So there's a lot of talk, and research that says that is it, potentially helpful? I think in some cases for sure, but also it can really impact your hydrochloric acid level. So H. pylori comes in, starts actually hiding in a thick stomach layer of your stomach, and then it starts producing this enzyme called urease, which actually helps converts urea, which is an abundance of supply in the stomach, which comes from saliva and gastric juices, and then converts to bicarbonate and ammonia, which are strong bases, right? So which urease creates a cloud of acid neutralizing chemicals around the H. pylori, so which protects H. pylori from the acid of the stomach. So this is a real problem because this little bugger can produce more of that enzyme that helps break down and protect itself from the stomach acid of the stomach. So which it starts growing, and then it starts stealing your food, right? So, and then the thing is, the immune system will respond to an H. pylori infection. And then start producing more white blood cells, killer T cells, but they cannot reach the infection since it cannot easily penetrate the stomach lining. So that becomes a problem. This is where we have to use some key nutrients. I love using, there's key things that we have to look for when it comes down to H.Pylori. Useful tools definitely to identify. Number one will be blood chemistry, and also using an antigen testing from a comprehensive stool analysis, which I'm a big fan of the gut zoomer, which is what I use in my practice with clients mostly. Some people do like GI map as well, but the gut zoomer is definitely the biggest bang for your buck, allowing you to test for over 300 different pathogens. And then not only this, for antigens against, Epstein-Barr virus or H.Pylori, but definitely I have a very comprehensive inflammatory panel, part of the gut zoomer, which is absolutely amazing because you want to check your calprotectin. So if you have a lot of inflammation in the gut, this is going to be your best marker to actually look at a calprotectin, which we see elevation in cases of IBD, Crohn's, and colitis, all these things. So really important that you, before doing a colonoscopy, not non-medical advice, but this is a much better avenue first and for all before doing colonoscopy. I think that it's much less invasive is to start doing a comprehensive stool analysis. But definitely testing for H.Pylori antibodies is a really good one. So in stool, really good. There's the breath test, but there's so much more information on your whole gut microbiome and commensals and inflammation and potential like parasitic infections or overgrowth as well, and other pathogens. And so really definitely a big start to really begin there. But number 1, 2 tips would be to really reduce stress. So if you are currently under a lot of stress, whether it's your environment, your workplace, and finding proper solution, breath work, meditation, going out for a walk, exercising, yoga, all of these things, getting surrounded by proper community. Like yesterday, I was with the beautiful Ashley Wellness. We went to the biohacking, optimizing lab here in Tempe, Arizona. So it was actually in around the Phoenix area, but over here, and it was so good. It was nice. But see, this is where connecting yourself with like-minded individuals is so important as well. I like to do PMF myself, so I own a higher dose PMF mat. Doing some sauna gonna be great as well. So these are all great tools to help you balance your cortisol levels. Yes, there's some herbs, but always start with your environment and breath work and what we can do naturally, grounding yourself outside, getting exposed to the first thing in the morning with sun exposure is so important. So doing those first, good relationship and dogs. Right now I'm being surrounded with a beautiful amount of animals, like tons of oxytocin, so super important. And then the second thing would be to really replenish your nutritional deficiencies. So this is key things, right? So making sure you get proper amounts of zinc in the diet, proper amounts of vitamin B1 in the diet to lower alcohol intake. So you can always refer back to one of my posts that I just recently did on hydrochloric acid and how to best support it. So refer back to this. There's a lot of good tips in there as well too. But definitely starting there and analyzing, making sure that we assess that. So if you are going under any antiparasitic or parasite cleansing and all of that fun stuff, it has its place, but understand that if you are still dealing with low stomach acid, it's going to be a problem. So you have to address the gut microbiome. You have to address your digestion, right? So using enzymes or hydrochloric acid, HCl, betaine HCl would be a really good thing for most people. But chronic issues long-term of low stomach acid can lead to high stomach acid symptoms, which can lead to ulcers and gastritis, which you don't want that. So it could be life-threatening in some cases long-term. So you want to make sure that you address that. So those would be some of the tips that I would definitely start beginning and making sure that you get your proper blood chemistry. So if you are interested in getting your blood work done, so you may contact us as well at info@regionbiome.com, where you'll be able to, we can get assistant with when it comes down to getting your proper blood work and getting a blood chemistry analysis with myself. So all the information will be in the show notes, but definitely making sure, so if you are in the United States, it's a lot more accessible, so I can provide listeners and clients with the proper testing. Also, I will be linking a special link for blood chemistry analysis as well, and along combination with a special offer when it comes down to using a comprehensive stool analysis, so you can do from the comfort of your home. So I'm going to have both separate, where you'll be able to get your gut microbiome tested and see if there's any potential issues when it comes down to like things like H.Pylori and other gut dysbiosis. So it's really important. But I'll be putting all of this in the show notes. And in the meantime, if you have any questions, leave a review, leave a comment. It's always super appreciative. You can reach me on my Instagram page, which will be linked in the bio, in the show notes. And so, but for now, this is going to be the episode on the beautiful hydrochloric acid, how much we need this. And so if you found this information super valuable, please always comment below, share with people, and let me know. Have you been impacted with hydrochloric acid issues, right? So if you're definitely dealing with these, it is worth the while to investigate. So don't settle for less, always settle for a lot more. Never settle. Health is a journey. It's not linear. There's ups, there's downs, but it takes commitment. It takes action. So health does not come from not doing. It comes from taking action. So if you've been let down, you don't get the proper testing done, just don't wait. I mean, it's the most valuable thing that we have is our health. So, but for now, much love. Thank you for tuning in today, and looking forward for the next episode, which a little insight, next episode coming soon. I have a beautiful part 2 recording with the incredible Dr. Christy Sutton, author of an incredible book. So she was on in regards to, we talked a lot about anemia and hemochromatosis in episode 14, but we will be talking a lot about IBS, Crohn's disease, celiac specifically. So this is going to be coming on very soon in June. So I have a recording with her, and so it will be live after that shortly. But thank you again, and have yourself a wonderful day. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode of the Regen Biome Podcast. If you enjoyed the show, please remember to leave us a 5-star review on iTunes, because that's what helps us to be heard and to be seen. If you'd like to connect with me directly, or seeking private one-on-one health coaching, or if you have any questions about this episode, please reach out to me directly through my website, regenbiome.com, or on Instagram at JeanFelixCircot_JFT. Thanks again, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode.